It's been over a week since the launch of FPL and when I produced my first draft, and lots of you are asking what my new team looks like. I've spent lots of time thinking about which defenders, midfielders, and forwards to own. I've spoken to some of the best managers in the world over the past week, and I've really studied some of those newly promoted teams, and a lot has changed in my team. So in today's video, I'm going to take you through everything I've learned and show you what my new draft looks like. What is up, everyone? FPL Harry here. Before we dive in, 2,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here as well. And welcome back to one of the most exciting videos every single week during preseason, is taking you through what my draft looks like. And with 5 top 10k finishes in the last 6 seasons, 26k last year is still very respectable. I will be doing my best to build a team to get me back into the top 10k again this year. But that actually puts me 3rd in the world over the last 6 years with the best average rank. Just 2 people are better than me. So 3rd in the world with those ranks. Fingers crossed we can get back into the top 10k once again. Before we dive in, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you are not in my mini league already, the code is A6FGYM. There'll also be a link in the description if you want to join. Make sure you're in it before the start of game week 1. Again, a disclaimer, it is very, very hot in the UK this week. I apologize if I look hot and sweaty when I record. I live in a flat, so I have to shut the window so that all my neighbors don't hear constant FPL chatter every single day during preseason and during the rest of the season. And I have to turn all my fans off and have really bright lights. I know, I'm sure you all feel really sorry for me, but it is making it very hot. So apologies in advance, but that's enough of that. Let's look at my latest draft. So I started my game week 1 draft with David Raya, and I think there are only 2 goalkeepers I'm really considering at the moment. Number 1 is David Raya, and number 2 is the goalkeeper I've got at the moment, and that is Kinski of Spurs. Now, the reason I haven't gone with David Raya is because I look at the other Arsenal defenders in the likes of Mosquera, Calafiori, even Ben White, if Timber's not going to be available for the start of the season, and just think they are probably equally good picks, if not better, and it saves me 0.5 million. And I quite like the option that Kinski offers, and there aren't really any good cheap defenders from Spurs. If you look at the long-term run of fixtures that Spurs do have and Kinski has for the start of the season, I think he's a pretty reasonable pick. Do I think he's incredible? No. But outside of David Raya, I don't love the 5.5 million ones. I did consider Donnarumma a little bit. I did look at Lamans, but then you've got Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw. I have looked at someone like Verbruggen, but there are other Brighton picks we're going to talk about. So I've ended up with Kinski with Dubravka on the bench. Now, there will be questions straight away around Vicario, and he is almost certain to leave Spurs. And even if he stays, it does sound like De Zerbi is going to be using Kinski as his number 1. Now, I will, of course, keep an eye on that during the rest of preseason, but I feel pretty confident that Kinski will be Spurs' number 1 going into the new season at 4.5 with some decent fixtures, 3 of the first 5 at home. I don't mind it. Then we're moving into defense. So I have gone with an Arsenal defender, and I keep going back and forth. But actually, as I look at it, I plan on not playing an early wildcard. So with the run of fixtures that Arsenal have from game week 5 onwards, I think there is a good chance that I will want to hold this Arsenal defender for quite a long period of time. So as much as I like someone like a Calafiori or a Ben White, I think when Europe particularly starts again, when they've got Hincapié, they've got Lewis Skelly, they've got Timber coming back, they've got Ben White, Mosquera, if he's going to play alongside Gabriel, of course, we don't fully know that yet. They might still sign someone, but at the moment, he feels like the most nailed long term. I am considering just starting with David Raya, and then in a few weeks, when their fixtures get better and I have a better understanding of the Arsenal defence, buying into a second one then, and not starting with an Arsenal defender, but David Raya being more expensive than them means I've gone with Mosquera. I do like Calafiori's attacking threat. It's just the long-term prospect with Europe means that's put me off just a little bit. I then opted for Gvardiol. I did have a double up on Arsenal, but the more I look at all of their injuries, it's just broken that Timber is likely out for the start of the season. Whether he actually is, there are pretty mixed reports on that, but I'm not certain I want a double up straight away with Aston Villa and Chelsea as 2 of the first 3, whereas Gvardiol and Manchester City have Bournemouth, Crystal Palace and Coventry in the first 3, at what point I could then just pivot to a second Arsenal defender if I wanted to. Now, the big question is Gvardiol nailed enough at 5.5 million. So we had a press conference from Enzo Maresca over the past couple of days where basically he highlighted Gvardiol, Phil Foden and Erling Haaland were the 3 key pillars to the current Manchester City setup that he is looking to build. Do I think that's definitely true? No. Do I think they'll play every single week? No. But I do potentially like a bit of City coverage for the first 3 games to start the season. I could look to free up some money. The other one I'd like is Virgil van Dijk, but he's a million more, so I can't quite afford it. And then I've started to focus much more on DEFCON. The more I've looked at my team over the past week, the more I've started to notice not enough people are picking DEFCON players. I'm not looking at enough DEFCON players. And what did well for managers last year was having good DEFCON defenders. That means you don't have to make loads of transfers there. And yes, it's not buying Senesi at 6 million. It's not buying James Hill. It's not buying all the ones last year. It's trying to find the ones that are still underpriced. So the two that I've gone with are Vuskovic of Brighton, and he rotates really well with Canvo of Crystal Palace. Now, Canvo's first couple of games are not great, but I don't need to play him until game week 3 when the Crystal Palace fixtures start to get a lot better. I could go for Mitchell at 4.5, save a bit of money. I could go for Chris Richards at the same price. I could find 0.5 for Daniel Munoz, but I like what Canvo offers in terms of the DEFCON. He's very reliable for it. I am aware that they've lost Lacroix, they've got a new manager, they might not be quite as good. This is probably the most up for grabs spot in my defense. I've also looked at Malik Chow. They just conceded 4 goals to Bristol City. I've also had a look at Harry Maguire. I've had a look at Ballard, but I have landed on Canvo as he rotates the best with the rest of my defense. And then Thomas, I've spoken about him enough. The best of the 4 million options. He got an attacking return every 5 matches last season. His DEFCON numbers are great. Coventry are the best of the newly promoted teams. The long-term fixtures are good. He is the best option to have. I won't keep banging on about how good Thomas is as a cheap option. And then we're moving into midfield. I've doubled up on the Manchester United midfield now. Bruno Fernandes and Mateus Cunha are in. I don't need to talk too much about Bruno, although I don't plan on captaining him in game week 1. So there is a part of me that's wondering if he's definitely worth the money. But I've doubled up with Mateus Cunha because those first few fixtures, first 2 in particular, are just great. I've got an eye on City. Is it Semenyo? Is it Phil Foden? I've got an eye on Morgan Rogers. I've got an eye on Gibbs White. All of these players look great. But until I decide which of those I think is the best long-term pick, to be honest, I'm coming around to the idea that it might just be Gibbs White at 8 million, but his opening fixtures are more difficult. So I just start with the one in Mateus Cunha, who I think has the best opening fixtures. Elsewhere, I did have Iliman Ndiaye. Looks like he's going to leave. He might even have left by the time you see this video. I wanted James Garner. I've got an eye on Pascal Gross if he takes penalties for Brighton now that Welbeck is leaving to Chelsea. But again, opening few fixtures is Enzo Laffi. The first couple are pretty good, and then I can always look to pivot in and around game week 4 or 5. And part of the reason I didn't go Ballard in defense is because in game week 4 and 5, they do have quite a difficult couple of games, and I'm not sure I want to double up. And at the moment, Enzo Laffi is the one I've got. If I had 0.5, someone like Ismail Assar, someone like Harry Wilson would be appealing. I could also come down, as I said, to Pascal Gross. Dominic Szoboszlai, the final midfielder, he feels like one of those that's in pretty much every single draft. He looks like a great pick at the moment, very nailed for Liverpool. Set pieces, open play threat, a share of penalties depending on how many minutes Alexander Isak plays. I'm pretty happy with that. It does mean I've got a 4.5 million midfield in Hughes on the bench. Now, Adam Wharton has been pictured in a protective boot at Crystal Palace camp, so that doesn't bode particularly well for him, which means Hughes might start the season as a starter for Crystal Palace. I don't plan on playing him. He'll be third sub. I've got Canvo and Thomas to cover my bench if needed. One thing I do think about a lot when I'm building my draft at the moment is over the past couple of years, since they've introduced the 5 transfer rolling ability, it's been a big focus early on in the season to build up as many transfers as possible. I don't see it being as straightforward this year. There are not many teams that you can own for a long period that carry you through all the games pretty well. I think there will be a lot of people who do commit to making a few transfers in the first few weeks. Between game week 5 and game week 6, there is a big international break, a double international break of 2 weeks where I think a lot of people will consider playing an early wildcard then. I have considered it. I don't plan on doing it. Just in terms of chip strategy in general, the plan at the moment is to save them all. I do have an eye on bench boost in game week 2, particularly with Coventry players. At the moment, I've just got Thomas, but Hull at home for them in game week 2 is possible. Free hit in game week 4 is also possible. It's the week that Manchester United play Manchester City, and if I go for Gvardiol and Mateus Cunha, I might need it. Chelsea have a great fixture at home to Hull, so I could go for João Pedro, Rogers and Cole Palmer in that as well. Bench boost will almost certainly be either game week 2 or delayed until after I wildcard. What else have we got? Yeah, free hit 4. Wildcard could be 6, if not later. And triple captain, I'll play it by ear. Again, I think I will wait until Haaland plays Hull at home later on in the season. Not only has FPL been out for almost a week, but so has Club. Now, let's have a look at how my team is improving. My FPL draft is definitely better, but so is my Club team. Ignore the fact I am quite over budget, but a front line of Semenyo, João Pedro, Cunha. I even took Haaland on loan, and I don't even think I need him. I've got Chris Wood in there. Club is a completely free-to-play football manager game where every few hours you get given a random player. Let's see who I get in my pack. And you can add them to your lineup if you want. I've got players, as you saw, like Szoboszlai, João Pedro, that I've got in my packs. Not a particularly good one. Leeds defender could be useful if they are able to rotate in. I don't think I'm going to take him. So that is how my lineup is at the moment. As I was saying, every few hours you get given a random player. If you like them, you can add them to your lineup. And every weekend you get matched against a random player and you score points depending on how your players do in real life, just like in FPL. And you get in-game rewards depending on how well you do, if you win or if you lose. If you are not playing it already, my squad is improving, other people's squad is improving. The sooner you get in the game, the better you will be for the start of the season. So click the link in the description, scan the QR code, which is up on screen. Make sure you're playing it. I also have a league code which you need to join before the start of the season. It is a great free-to-play game. You can play on the side, on top of FPL. That's what I do. Download it, and let's have a look at my forward line for FPL. So wrapping up by having a look at the forward line, it leaves me the same structure as I had before. Erling Haaland is in alongside João Pedro. These two feel almost nailed in every single team. I'm not going to be going without Haaland. He's actually currently my captain for game week 1 as well, over Bruno, despite the fact that Bruno plays Hull. Bournemouth, I don't think will be nearly as strong. Krupi Jr. is also injured. Now, that doesn't impact them defensively, but Senesi is gone. It just weakens them as a team in a general sense. João Pedro is also scoring goals. I know the opposition in preseason hasn't been that strong. He didn't have any World Cup. He's fully fit. He's ready to go, and he's got a point to prove. As a Chelsea fan, I've said it over and over again. If you want to own a Chelsea player for the start of the season, it should be João Pedro first. If you want Rodgers, if you want Palmer, that's fine, but do it in addition to João Pedro. João Pedro is number 1. And then the final spot is still occupied by Calvert-Lewin. Robbie, Solanke, Osula, Igor Jesus, Chris Wood, even Mateta up at 6.5 have all been in my thinking, but I still like the first 5 fixtures for Leeds a lot. Calvert-Lewin's minutes are better than all of those other forwards that I just listed. He's on penalties, which isn't the same for all of those forwards. A couple of them are. A couple of them have the potential to take penalties, but Calvert-Lewin is the only one out of those who plays 90 pretty much every week, has a good run of fixtures for the first 5, and is on penalties as well. I don't think I can ask too much more than that from a 6 million forward. So unless I have a reason to take him out and a reason to definitely go for someone else, he just feels like the most sensible pick to start the season. I feel pretty happy with this draft. To be honest, when I was building it, I'm 0.5 million of the perfect draft, which would be Canvo to a second Arsenal defender, probably Calafiori, giving me double Arsenal defense, Gvardiol, Vuskovic. There are a couple of ways that I could free it up. Of course, I could just go with Canvo over Calafiori, wait to see what we see from the Arsenal defense. I could do Vuskovic down to a 4.5, a Luke Shaw, a Rodon, a Jair at Brighton who might play with Sandenberg's injury. I could go, Luke Shaw, Joe Rodon. There are a few options in there. I could even go all the way down to Diop and have 2 cheap options in defense. I could do Enzo Laffi to a 5.5 and someone like a Pascal Gross. I could do Matheus Cunha to Morgan Rodgers. There are lots of ways that I could look to free up that 0.5 million. But at the moment, for the first few games, I think let's wait and see what we see on Arsenal defensively. I'm happy with 1. I don't want none, but I'm not sure I need 2. And I like backing Vuskovic, Gvardiol, Canvo rotation along with Thomas. I'm pretty happy with how this draft is looking. Do I think it will change by game week 1? Yes, but the structure I'm pretty happy with. Starting to put more money into defense, starting to focus more on DEFCON because it was so powerful last year, and we can't forget how good it was. So we're going to wrap it up there. That is my latest draft. Let me know how many of these you own. Make sure you join my league code if you haven't already. If you have spare time over preseason, please make sure you go and try out Club. It has launched for the new season. My team is getting better. Don't get left behind. Download it now and start building your squad ahead of the new season. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, if you're enjoying preseason, drop a like. There have been a lot of useful videos over the past week, so make sure you're checking them out. Thank you for watching. Like if you've enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, and I'll be back again very soon.